Speaking Basketball Podcast, my name is Ben. Welcome back to another episode. Cody, welcome back. I don't think we've talked about basketball for about a month. It feels like a lot has happened in the NBA that we need to talk about today. We won't get to all of it today, of course. We'll just try to get to a couple big things. But man, the Eastern Conference, we got movers and shakers. We got things happening in the West. As of recording this, the NBA Cup, the actual tournament part of the NBA Cup is about to tip off. And there's some really interesting teams that I want to see in a one game. We're giving you extra scouting report attention, playoff adjacent setting that's going to be really fun. We've had young teams come out of the NBA Cup with great success, including the Indiana Pacers, who 2 years ago made it to the finals of the NBA Cup with a great run, and then followed that up last year with a run to Game 7 of the NBA Finals, one of the greatest runs in NBA history that will unfortunately probably be forgotten to history, but not here, not on this show. Cody, welcome back.
Thank you. You're right. It does feel like it's been a really, really long time. And I think the weird thing about this particular season is a lot of things have happened. I don't know if in the last couple of weeks, if anything like huge and gargantuan have happened where it's like, oh my God, we need to make an emergency pod about this. But there's just so many small things that are happening, especially with some teams that I would certainly not have circled as being a team that I need to focus on during the season. And at this point, I'm like, wow, I really need to zoom in and figure out what's going on here. Why is this team struggling? Why is this team doing better than I expected? Why? There's a bunch of questions like that. So you're right. There's a bunch of little things that keep compounding. And across these 2 weeks, it's like a mountain, Ben. It's a mountain's worth of stuff we've been talked about.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. You're referring to Colin Gillespie, aren't you?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, I think last time I was on here, I called him out. That makes it sound like I was mad at him, but I shouted him out, I should say, because he's on my pantheon for GOAT hustle plays of the year right now. The one, I don't remember who they were playing, but he hustles for the offensive rebound, dives out of bounds, throws it in for the and one layup. That kind of stuff's incredible. And the 3-point shot's a little bit more dialed in. Phoenix Suns is really fun. I kind of have a point about them I'm going to bring up, I think, later in the episode. So I'm going to put a little bit of Phoenix Suns pin into this one right now.
Well, of course, since you've been gone and now all this time has gone by, we absolutely have to start the show and I think spend at least 1 hour coming up with imaginary trade scenarios for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Do you have your top 3 offhand?
What's the closing time line? It's you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I don't care. Whatever. Let the man go free. I want to see him compete some more. We got the championship. Great. Go on somewhere. I don't care. I'm not involved anymore.
I think those were all song lyrics that you had. Closing time, let the man go free. We are the champions. What was the last one?
I don't know. I don't know what the last one was. That would have been incredible because I dialed up 2 of them as song lyrics. So I'm not quite that lyrical though.
Okay, a couple small things before we get to business. That Suns game last night, great win in Minnesota. Colin Gillespie kind of put on a show. They didn't have Devin Booker. They're such a fun team, lot of energy, very exciting. And Cody, I know you're not into this stuff, but I just need to give a shout out to NBC, Peacock, even Amazon, the new partners. The coverage to me is so good. It's so different. And if you haven't seen this, Cody, what Peacock is doing is they're taking one color commentator and sticking them behind one bench. They're taking another color commentator and they're sticking them behind another bench. And they're actually getting feedback from the bench during the game. And wait, this is the crazy part. They're telling you, the listener and the viewer, what is actually happening on the basketball court. And it's kind of working. It's kind of exciting.
So this is terrible. This is one of those things that I'm kind of blind to. I watch a lot muted. And then when I'm watching, I don't even know what stream I'm watching. So I'm just on League Pass bouncing around there. Are they talking to each other? Is it a traditional 2 color commentators are talking to each other, but they're not sitting next to each other?
Exactly.
Is that the setup? Okay.
Yes. So last night it was Noah Eagle, who I thought had a great call. He sits by himself in the middle of the court. And then the 2 color commentators are kind of like bench reporters, except everyone's live. Everyone's mic is hot. And it's like a 3-man booth, but none of them are sitting together. It's a 3-man booth, but none of them are sitting together. And they actually talk about basketball the entire game and give insights to what happened in a timeout or on a play. Hey, they're hunting this player over and over again. Look, I mean, some of the players have a tendency to get so into the game that they'll do that thing where they tell you what's coming. They do the Tony Romo. They're like, watch this. He's going to reject the pick and roll for another step back. It's just very basketball heavy. And along with the production quality, I love it.
I think honestly the fans deserve that because we've talked about so much about how the game is so like as complicated as it has ever been. It's so fast paced, right? Like it almost feels like you have to. It's like the 18th Marvel movie, right? You have to have done some homework to show up to a game to fully understand what's going on here, and that's the point of like a good color commentating crew is they should be sitting there metaphorically holding everyone's hand through it and be like, hey, like if you're not sure of what's going on at this quick paced game right now, here's some of the stuff that's going on. So that's awesome to hear. This is really the thing that I think we've always really wanted to see from a broadcast crew.
Okay, here is my quiz for you today, Cody. I have a quiz and it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. Don't overthink it. Just go with your gut. You may already know it. You may have looked it up. On our board for our members, patreon.com/thinkingbasketball, we have team leaders and all this kind of stuff, player stats. And one of the things we look at is the expected win pace of a team based on their point differential, their opponent, where the game is, their win-loss record matters in that. And when you look at all that, do you know who the top 5 teams are by win pace to start the season? We are a month and a half in.
Top 5 teams by win pace. All right.
Top 5 teams by win pace. I think you can get number 1.
Let me rattle these off.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oklahoma City Thunder are on pace for 73 wins.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right
That's
now,
probably lowballing them right now.
Well, yes. Yeah, but they've had some shooting luck, but yes.
Denver Nuggets.
The Denver Nuggets are number 4.
Okay. Oh, man, just going with gut. I'm going to say Houston Rockets.
The Houston Rockets are number 2.
Okay, so I have 3 of them.
Can you get the other 2?
Listen, I'm looking at I'm not cheating. I'm just
looking
I had
Jeopardy
at the teams
music right now.
Just in general right now. Man, I don't think the Lakers. I'm going to say no to the Lakers. I'm going to say no to, you know what? Are the Pistons one of them?
The Pistons are not one of them.
Okay, okay. I get one more strikeout. I have
one more. Yes.
I'm going to say that is Boston one of them?
The Boston Celtics have the 5th best win pace as of right now. And the last one is the New York Knicks.
Oh, okay.
Just ahead of the Celtics as well. So that's a big shift from the last time we were here when you were, if I remember correctly, poo-pooing the Celtics because of their win-loss record. In the last month of the season, the Celtics are 11-3. And I think what stands out is that they have like a 126 offensive rating in the last month. I mean, have you seen them play? Have you seen what's going on? Because you talked about big questions at the top. And for me, a big question that we're going to maybe start answering right now is like, holy hell, how are the Celtics offense? How are they so efficient on offense?
I do think this is a really interesting question that it's one of the puzzles that I'm trying to work out throughout the season here. I think one thing that's really big is whenever you see a team that seems to have a super high offensive rating and they don't necessarily have a really good, like top tier offensive player, my first inclination is be like, oh, I wonder how their bench is performing. And so when you pull up some of the on-off numbers, like Jaylen Brown, when he's on the court, their offensive rating is 123.7. When Jaylen Brown is off the court, it's 121.7. Right. So regardless, Jaylen Brown on the court, Jaylen Brown off the court, both of them are posting above 121 offensive ratings. So that's telling me, and obviously the eye test matches it, they're deep, right? They have a bunch of guys that can throw it there that are stretching the floor, that are playing their roles perfectly. And, I'm going to go back to that first point because they are just firing from 3 right now. So last I checked, this is like 2 days ago. So I apologize if things have changed like dramatically here, but they were leading the league in 3-point attempts per 100 possessions. This was as of December 7th. I checked this. So on that date, there were 14 players in the NBA that played at least 500 total minutes, while taking 12 or more 3-point attempts per 100 possessions. All right. In the entire association. All right. Boston has 4 of those 12 players. Right? 4 of the 12 players in the league that have played at least 500 minutes and taking at least 12 3-point attempts per 100 possessions. Beyond that, 6 of their 11 top guys in total minutes played are shooting over 40% from 3. And Queta is the only one of them that I think you would straight up call a non-shooter. Like, I think Walsh and Gonzalez are both like a little under 5 3-point attempts per 100 possessions, but that's not a non-shooter. Like, they'll take them once in a while. So this is a super spaced out team, and they're using it to their advantage to just do their drive and kick game and create space for each other.
Well, I think what's interesting about that to me is that Boston is only taking 43 3-point attempts this season, which is a decline. They were last year over 50 for a lot of, I don't remember what they finished at, but they were basically like 53s a game. So the actual number and the percentage of threes has come down a little bit with this different roster and this different approach. They're third in the league in overall attempts as we look at this right now. But I do think that's a really interesting place to start, because you mentioned Ugo Gonzalez, Jordan Walsh, and they also have Josh Minot, who, these guys are not the elite shooters. But my goodness, Anthony Simons, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, who else am I forgetting? Jaylen Brown can shoot.
Derek White.
Okay.
For the people that are going to get angry about that, I know his percentages are down, but historically over the last few years, this is a high volume, high percentage 3-point shooter in multiple playoffs. So I'm throwing Derek White into that list.
Right, and that's what's key about that stat you led with, is it's not just the percentage, it's the volume. And so the Celtics have these volume shooters, and they can create spacing like that. But I mean, White is the ultimate example because his release is so fast. So having that as sort of a starting point, I think, is a good place to work from. But also, they're not just looking to hunt the mismatch and just get the switch and play isolation. Yes, I think there is a lot of mismatch hunting still in their offense, even though Jason Tatum's not there, even though Drew Holiday's not there, even though Kristaps Porzingis isn't there, even though Al Horford isn't there. It's a different team. But when they're in a matchup where they find a mismatch, they will hunt it mercilessly. So against the Magic a couple weeks ago, they had an 80-point first half against the Magic. And Orlando had some injuries in this game. And so they had a like third or fourth string center out there. And there was a stretch in the second quarter where they were just like, every time, my friend, come into the pick and roll, and they just destroyed them, because it wasn't even switches. It was just, if you're going to try to play these coverages and you're not going to be an elite defender, we have enough weapons on the ball. Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, all of these players can do enough on the ball to attack a mismatch in that situation. Then you fast forward to the Knicks game, and they just destroyed the Knicks. They were actually down. Weren't they down by like 15 to start the game? And in the second and third quarter, it was every Knicks fan's nightmare. Just Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns. Can you defend a pick and roll? Apparently not. And the Celtics just ran him out of the gym in the second and the third quarter. So that is still there, even though Tatum and those other guys are not.
It's amazing how you just take the points that I'm about to bring up. You're looking at my computer right now, and
yes. Well, your wife did give me access to your computer while you were gone, so that's how else would the show function?
You don't even need me. Just read the points I'm going to say, right? It would just be cut out the middleman on this one. But yeah, that Knicks game, that was an interesting matchup, because the Knicks came out, and like you said, they got a big lead, and a big part of it was Towns looked unstoppable. Like, he was just like, it wasn't even because of the shooting necessarily. He was taking dudes into the post and just 90s-ing them, right? Just like back down, hook shot, little turn. It was unbelievable. He looked fantastic. And then that's when the Celtics, like, especially their Spain action, you get like Queta is out there setting one of the screens. You get someone like Peyton Pritchard or Derek White setting that back screen before popping up for a three or something like that. The Knicks had no idea what they were doing. Like, I think Queta goes in, he gets a lob dunk. I think there was a second lob dunk. There was a rolling dunk. It was unbelievable. Like, they opened up a Dunkin' Donuts against the Knicks in that game. It was ridiculous, right?
Wow. Did you have that written down in the notes?
I didn't. Sometimes you just get into a flow state, and something just comes into your mind, Ben. Like, something just comes into your mind. Jaylen Brown, I think, had a couple of dunks just off the drive in some of those pick and roll in Spain actions. There's one where Tyler Kolek is just like clapping at Towns, like clearly pissed off at him. Like, dude, you cannot just be standing in space right now. The second-year player just jawing at Towns out there in frustration. So, number one, like, that's not the point of the episode to like talk about the concerns we have about the Knicks and their pick and roll defense, but that's certainly an undercurrent of what's happening in this season. But just the Celtics being able to utilize multiple players, especially with a great roller like Queta, opens up a lot of doors and really takes advantage of the 4 or 5 out spacing that they have out there. And they can, like I said with the stat before, they can run it with 8 of their 11 top guys.
Well, Queta is the fascinating part to me because he's still, I think, only at about 24 or 25 minutes a game, which is not super low, but it's also not in that 30-something minute a game. This is a key part of our team, et cetera, et cetera. But there is a little bit of Bam Adebayo in the sense that on offense, when Queta's out there, he's kind of at the center of a lot of stuff without always touching the ball. And then he's really since they don't have any other big men, that's another element of this Celtics team. If you haven't seen them a lot, they play a lot of micro ball. The 24 minutes Queta is on the bench, they're like, somebody else figure it out. Jaylen Brown, you're guarding the center. Ugo Gonzalez, you're guarding the center. Jordan Walsh, you're guarding the center. Josh Minot, you're guarding the center. They just have wings and they don't play another big man. So when Queta's out there, Cody, are you sitting down? Are you sitting down?
I'll sit out to more.
Wait, you are sitting down, right? No one can tell you have this optical illusion that you're in a Midwestern basement, but you're actually not. If you look at the league leaders right now in players on court rating, meaning when they're on the court, how good is their basketball team per 100 possessions? The point differentials that jump out are obviously Oklahoma City players, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Isaiah Hartenstein and all those guys. And then you'll see some Nuggets players as well. I don't know if you know this, but Nikola Jokic and Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray and those guys are pretty good too. And then you see Neemias Queta. That's plus 16.
Yeah.
The Celtics are plus 16 per 100 when Neemias Queta is on the court in 500 something minutes this year. And the only other guys from other teams that kind of pop in that range, OG Anunoby's plus 17 with the Knicks, Jalen Duren's plus 14 with the Pistons. Then you have some Houston Rockets players. Then there's a drop to the rest of the league. And so Queta, yes, there is a defensive component with Queta with the Celtics, but I go back to this offensive rating and what's making this offense work and why are they having success? And when you watch them, he can play our favorite delay where he's up at the top of the key and he can play handoff action in different directions, but he often kind of hangs out around the top of the key, around the elbows. It reminds me a little, it's almost blasphemous to say this because in so many other ways they play so differently. It reminds me a little of our Pacers team last year with what they would, Miles Turner, just go hang out at the elbow and just set flare screens and get ready to run the Spain pick and roll. And if the ball's coming to you, hand off. If it's not available one side, turn, go to the other side, play the backside, empty pick and roll. Just get Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, just get these guys churning. And then the guards will come set screens for each other, which in these same sets is very Pacers-esque. I think they probably saw the Pacers in the playoffs last year. And we're maybe that's a good idea to play that way. If you have a bunch of springy, penetrating, shooting guards, and that's exactly what the Celtics have. They are loaded up on guards that can shoot and penetrate, and they have no big people. And Neemias Queta, oh my goodness, he's been incredible.
So I think Queta goes back to a lot of the concepts we talked about in our summer series, right? A big point, one of the main theses that we were talking about is the fact that the best players in the league make their teammates score easier shots at a higher percentage, right? And the thing that I think we uncovered a little bit when it comes to shooting, Steph Curry has these absurd numbers that opens up layup percentages and things like that, Klay Thompson, all these kinds of shooters. But at a certain point, the shooting impact of additional players diminishes just a little bit. Not saying that you don't want a ton of shooting out there, you really do. But at a certain point, you want at least a guy that's going to take advantage of the space that's available to you in the paint. And I think it almost sounds counterintuitive, but people are like, oh, modern basketball, we need to have 5 out spacing. Yeah, but also it might be more effective, in the Celtics case here, to have 4 out spacing with somebody like Queta who is just going to eat in the paint. That when you don't have that additional help and you have the players flying around the perimeter, is just going to roll, put his head near the rim, and just try and rip it down like he's 90s Shaq, right? And I think that is a key component to how he's taking advantage of it, because when you don't have another big like that that's out there, I think you see that with their offense is they're not able to take advantage with those bench lineups with the open paint with the size that they have. So, I don't want to say it's like a Tyson Chandler of like Dallas Mavericks lore sort of thing, but he does occupy like that sort of like, I'm just going to rim roll and that is my role and I'm going to take that on as ferociously as I can. So to me, that's a big part of Queta's success with the Boston Celtics right now.
100%. So I think to summarize that or kind of shrink it down, there is nothing he's really taking away from his teammates. And he's just filling in this extra area. And in addition to everything you mentioned, then he can grab offensive rebounds off the misses with his size.
Mm-hmm.
And despite the Celtics being small, they're actually one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the league, which I think is crazy. So yes, Queta is a big part of that, but also guards crashing from the corner. We talked about this last week with Jordan Sperber. If you missed that episode, a lot of talk about the crashing rates and how the Celtics have very high crashing rates. But man, some of these wings coming in, Jordan Walsh playing this role, Josh Minot. Let's talk about Jordan Walsh. Can we talk about Jordan Walsh?
Oh my God, can we talk about Jordan Walsh?
I think Jordan Walsh may be the next Bruce Bowen All-Star.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. You know what I mean by Bruce Bowen All-Star? Am I
like,
that?
Are you meeting somebody that's like the fifth player in offensive load in the lineup and then just does everything else better than anyone else you would have out there?
No. I mean like a journeyman who no one had, just not a name in basketball that no one's ever heard of. And he kind of bounces around for a couple years. And then all of a sudden, his role is defense, shooting corner threes, and doing stuff like crashing the glass and being switchy and versatile. And historically, when players come along in these positions, Cody, we're like, oh, how good is his shot? How good is his hand? Yeah, Austin Reeves, can he explode and become a more dynamic offensive player? If you look at great finds and journeymen and undrafted players, I think half of them are players that ended up having some offensive juice. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about guys who just keep, like, they moved him into the starting lineup, and that's what's propelled this jump in their record and their performance, because similar to what you were saying with Queta, he's just filling in the gaps of value everywhere. And if you're making your threes and you're defending at a really high level and you have some basketball acumen and IQ, I'm amazed at how young he is. He plays like he's 26, and he's been hanging out in Europe for the last 5 years on a championship team in a league in Europe. But he averaged 7 points a game at Arkansas, and he's about to play more minutes to start this NBA season than he has in his entire career in the last 2 years. And yet, along with guys like Ugo, I mean, I think he's been a big part of kind of the way this is working for the Celtics right now.
So I like how you talk about like Bruce Bowen. It's kind of the concept of who he is. You know who I actually think about when I watch him play basketball, like an evolutionary version of? I think about Tayshaun Prince, Ben. That's who I'm picturing when he's out there.
Whoa.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying like a Bruce Bowen All-Star.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Like if someone said, what is a Bruce Bowen All-Star? Danny Green is a Bruce Bowen All-Star. Raja Bell is a Bruce Bowen All-Star. Mario Elie is a Bruce Bowen All-Star. Guys like that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. It's our favorite guys, obviously.
Yeah. Cody's all the players that Cody has on his wall if we would turn his camera around.
That's all. That should actually be a whole episode, is the Bruce Bowen All-Stars. But yes, sorry, what were you saying?
To your point about Tayshaun, Walsh is longer than a lot of these guys, and he just has this springy, fluid athleticism. And we've been focusing on the offense, but I think what's interesting about this entire thing and these lineup constructions with the Celtics is that they're somehow also able to survive on defense. They're not a great defense. They don't have Jason Tatum out there. They don't have Kristaps Porzingis or Al Horford anymore. They don't have Drew Holiday anymore, but they're like middle of the road, very respectable, solid defensively because of these guys and because Derek White's a good defender and because Jaylen Brown's a good defender and so on and so forth.
This blows my mind because I always imagined like Tayshaun Prince was the octopus of octopuses, right? So Tayshaun Prince is obviously taller. Like when you go back and watch some of those games, he's like a pterodactyl out there. But according to the internet, and I don't know if you've heard, Ben, but the internet, especially AI, like never can lie. So whatever you see here is just obviously correct. And it's telling me that Tayshaun Prince wingspan is 7'2", Jordan Walsh's wingspan is 7'3".
There you go. That's right.
7'3" wingspan. Like
Yeah.
that's why it stood out to me, because when he's walking around, I'm like, yeah, he doesn't look as tall as him, but the arms are just as gangly, and I think it throws off the guys he's defending. Like, he's able to poke balls away, he's able to get up in their grills a little bit more.
Cody, the offensive rebound, the dunks on the offensive
Oh
rebounds. My goodness. And they list him at 6'6", right?
Yeah, does that seem right to you?
I don't know, because the thing with the wingspan is he just plays so big, right? He's able to just, and he's also, this is why I'm shocked at how young he is. The Celtics have two very young players in Walsh and Ugo Gonzalez, who just the strength of these dudes. Did you talk about Ugo's strength? Did you talk about that on the pod? Am I making that up?
No, we texted about this, I think.
Okay, you have to tell everyone. I mean, this guy's, he's 19 years old. He's built like a tank.
Okay, I'm glad you said this, because that's the thing about the Celtics, is if Walsh goes to the bench and Gonzalez comes on, it's you just didn't lose anything, basically, right? You just bring in another great defensive player. And I go back to that Knicks game, and I'm drawing on it because I really drew a lot of good takeaways about the Celtics from that particular game. But when Towns was really, ripping on them in the paint, they bring Gonzalez in, who's decidedly not a big man. They're like, hey, can you try and take him one-on-one? He's like, yeah, I got this. And Towns really struggled against him. Like, there were multiple possessions in a row. It's like, oh my God, this 19-year-old rookie is just matching up with him strength-wise and just really bothering him out there. And I think what I texted you, and I need people to relax for a second, but hear me out on this one. His strength, it reminds me of Kawhi Leonard's strength.
Yes.
Like, he just has this absurd core strength where when he's out there, you just can't move him. It's like the Steven Adams, Kawhi Leonard thing, where it's not like he's Jaylen Brown or Jalen Duren, where like the biceps are popping, but he's just a cinder block when he's defending people out there. And as a 19-year-old, like, I can't think of many 19-year-olds I've seen that. Now, I was even wondering, I'm like, I can't think of many 19-year-old wing defenders I've seen at this level before. And I know Cooper Flagg is in the league right now, and I think defensively he does some different things, but in terms of what Gonzalez is able to do one-on-one in that situation, I don't know. I'd have to really deep dive to figure out what other teenagers I was this impressed with defensively.
Well, he has that incredible leg strength. I mean, you mentioned the core strength, just it coming from the ground. And so I think when we were texting, that's what I couldn't remember, if you had unveiled that Kawhi Leonard comparison. My question to Cody was, is this just how this dude's been built for a long time and he's just stuck there? It's like Gershon Yabusele's legs and trunk. It's always been that way. Or what's scary is he developing, is he still growing and he hasn't fully like filled into that frame, something we see with almost every single player in the 21st century in the National Basketball Association, which is the physical growth and strength that their body is able to take on from the age of 19 to 23 or 24, right? Think Jason Tatum and that broad collarbone, and just like, yeah, he's dunking on LeBron when he's 19 as a rookie, but give him a couple years and he's going to fill out. And Ugo doesn't necessarily have the LeBron James, shoulder width collarbone thing going on, but I don't understand how he's that strong at his age. I really don't. It's incredible.
I don't necessarily know if this fits in, because you can't, use this data for every single player that does this, but he made his professional debut in Spain in 2022. So if we're going backwards 3 years ago, he was 16. He was either 16 or early 17 years old.
16, but I think he even was on the team in the system when he was younger, which is how they do it in some of these European systems, right? Like Luka Doncic signs when he's younger. So I think he's been in a professional organization in Europe for at least like 5+ years.
Yeah. So when you develop through your teen years against adults, right? Like, that's who you're facing. Like, that's a level of strength versus having to play against teenagers. And I'm not even necessarily saying it's like, oh, this is always a better situation, but I think that's one way that you can point to it and be like, oh yeah, like, he's ready for the physicality, because the FIBA ball, it's physical, right? And he's playing against guys that are older. So maybe it shouldn't be as much of a surprise that he's like, yeah, let's bring the physicality tonight.
Someone in the audience has mentioned the job Joe Mazzula has done with this squad as we talk through the things that they've done. And I wanted to ask you, Cody, about the Coach of the Year race right now, because it feels like we're only a month plus into the season, and it feels like every single time we stop to hit a team, maybe outside the Nuggets, and that's even doing a disservice to David Adelman because of their zone and the continuity that they've played with. It feels like every time we stop and hit a team, it's like, man, do we expect Miami to play? Do you see how Miami's playing? This is such a weird style. Did we expect it? What are the Celtics doing? How are the Celtics able to do this? The Phoenix Suns, how are the Jordan Ott? How is he getting him to do this? And I'm sure there's many more off the top of my head that I'm forgetting. Obviously, Mark Dagnall, JJ Redick with the Los Angeles Lakers. There's a lot going on right now with coaching. Do you have a coach of the year handicap instinct? When we did Toronto, when we talked about Toronto and Darko Rajakovic and all the sets that they're running and all the different stuff they're trying to do on offense, I just think it's a fascinating potential coach of the year race.
Are you asking me who I think actually has the best chance of winning coach of the year? Like, what do I think the chances are for them?
What's the alternative?
I don't know. I don't know if you would be like, whose coaching performance are you most impressed with? I actually don't even know which one I want you to ask. Like, those are both tough questions.
I see. I didn't know which one I wanted to ask either. So I was hoping you could blur them together, because to me, we don't necessarily have to commit to like what the final records are going to look like at the end of the year and what the narratives are going to look like. But I do feel like there's a number of coaching performances that are going to make it potentially really hard to pick a coach of the year. Like, we might end up, instead of just going, oh yeah, we know who's going to win coach of the year, it's going to be that team that completely blows their expectations away, and then in second place it's going to be this guy. We might end up with like a 3 or 4 horse race where there's no clear media preference or there's no clear narrative preference, because there's so many good coaching performances that stand out this season.
Well, it's such, I mean, all of the awards are narrative-based awards, right? Like, that's how you end up winning these. So I'm trying to think of what the most like prevalent narrative would be for any of these particular teams. So
okay, go ahead.
So I'm thinking about the Thunder, for instance, because when you have a 24-1 team, right, you're on pace to win 70 games or something like that. If that actually happens, like, do people discount it? Because like, all right, we saw this already. This is already an incredible team. They have a ton of defensive talent. They have somebody who's a foul merchant, so it doesn't really count. Like, I don't know if that kind of stuff like really matters. I don't know. My spidey senses are telling me that Dagnall isn't necessarily like leading the pack, even though, not my opinion. I'm just saying that my spidey sense is not telling me to go for him.
Can I just point out that Steve Kerr did win coach of the year when the Warriors won 73. I think off the top of my head, Phil Jackson won coach of the year when they won 72. And the coach of the year in the first month of the NBA was...
Wait, did he win last year?
Mark Dagnall?
Yeah, who's the coach of the year last season?
It was Kenny Atkinson, was it not?
Oh, was it Kenny Atkinson? Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that bumps him up a little bit more. For some reason, in my head, I thought he was actually the winner last year. But
that's because you're nervous that the media is going to do what you're doing with Dagnall, which is already give him credit, even though he hasn't won the award. But I'm just saying, he has already taken coach of the month to start the year. And historically, if you have a solid narrative, and I think you win like 2 or 3 coach of the months, which, spoiler alert, if they don't lose a game in December, I think Dagnall's going to win coach of the month in December. I think he would be up there. So that's one.
Bickerstaff with Detroit, I think it's really interesting, because I think if you look at some of the other top teams, like the Lakers, like Luka, LeBron, Reeves, like you have a bunch of guys that are able to just, especially Luka and LeBron, like very much coach on the floor types of things. The Thunder, we just kind of talked about there. The Nuggets have Jokic, right? The Houston Rockets have all this talent. But the Pistons are kind of the surprise story where people are very excited about it, maybe punching above their weight a little bit. Like you said, they weren't even in the top 5 in terms of wins expected. And yet here they are still leading the Eastern Conference in actual win-loss. And I think that win-loss is really enticing for people when it comes to the voting body. So you have this team that's successful defensively. They're kind of running around one star, maybe another budding star in Jaylen Brown, a lot of potential beneath the surface, like a Sar Thompson, that people are like, oh, this guy's going to burst, but he's not quite like an all-star level guy yet. I don't know. I feel like Bickerstaff has to be pretty high up there right now.
Well, I think he'll be up there if the win-loss stays really high. I'm not sure the win-loss is going to stay as high as it's been. Maybe that's why I was saying you have to combine the 2 questions I was asking you, because if you really thought Detroit was going to finish the year 62-20, then that's the argument for Bickerstaff to be one of the top 1 or 2 candidates at the end of the season, right?
Mm-hmm. This is a really tough question. I feel like if I had to, if the season ended right now and I had to say who I think would win, I think Bickerstaff would be.
Wow.
I think that's who I'm not saying that's who I am picking. I'm saying that's who I think would win Coach of the Year right now.
Okay, I think, but here's where it gets really interesting. The Pistons are 19-5. Let's say they're punching above their weight. They're not punching too far above their weight in the sense that I think they have a really good shot at the 1 seed. They have a good point differential. They're a good team, and we saw for the last 4 months of last season in the playoffs that they're a good team. Mm-hmm. The Lakers are also punching way above their weight.
Yes.
You mean did you call them a paper tiger earlier in the episode? Did I hear that?
That's Ben, that's something I privately texted you.
Oh, did you tell me that?
I definitely texted you that I think the Lakers are a paper tiger. But yes, let's let all of the people know that I don't really believe in the Lakers as being.
No, I'm just saying if you look at their point differential, it is very marginal. If you look at their defensive rating, they're 20th in the league, which is, I believe, on the Hodek line, right? Isn't 20 what the bet was? Isn't top 20?
I said they wouldn't have a top 20 defense this year.
Yes. So they're straddling the Hodek line right there. Man, it's good to have you back. But they're 17-6.
Yeah.
They're 17-6. So by the same logic, if they were to win 58 games, and yes, you can say, oh, they have LeBron, they have Luka, they have high IQ players. You can say all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I think JJ Redick would have a pretty good case for getting them to defend and kind of hold the line defensively and be an average defense. And then I think we've reached a place narrative-wise where we don't take for granted throwing talent together and having it work offensively. And of course, JJ's doing a lot of these 3-man actions and Luka at the elbow. And how can I pair Jackson Hayes and get the most out of him because we don't have a lot of depth? Yeah, just getting DeAndre Ayton to come in and say, hey, my job is to run the floor, rebound, play drop coverage, protect the rim, and hit and just that's it. That's my job. I do think there's something there if they were to also punch above their weight. And for me, we're talking about like the 4th, 5th, or 6th Coach of the Year candidate potentially.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the thing. Like we talk about it, like Joe Mazzula, obviously with the Celtics. I think most people. I thought the conversation for a lot of people, I'm pretty sure Bill Simmons himself, Mr. Celtics, was like, this team should just tank. Like, they should just lose. Like, I think he was bouncing around ideas about maybe trading away some of their big guys. Like, oh, whatever, it's going to be a blown season.
Bill said, what? It's not a blown season. I keep telling you, Tatum's going to come back and they're going to win the East.
I'm saying, that's what he was saying at the beginning of the season before any of this happens. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was saying that. And I think other people were saying that, right? Here they are. They're a 3rd seed right now. So in terms of outplaying their expectations, I feel like is there any other team? What team do you think actually is outplaying their expectations more from this preseason right now? Because the Celtics are right there. Yes.
The Raptors.
Yep.
I think it's got to be the Raptors. And the Heat have been very good in the Suns.
Mm-hmm.
And right there, and then you throw in Mark Dagnall. That's what I'm saying about this Coach of the Year race.
Mm-hmm. We're blessed, man. We have a lot of really good coaches right here. Because, Rajakovic, we could talk about him there because what's going on with the Raptors, they still might be like my current favorite watch in the league right now. Like, I don't know if we talked about Scotty Barnes enough last time I was on this episode, but people, log in, turn on your TVs, do something, go watch some Scotty Barnes. This dude is incredible, like defensively. Like you had it in the Patreon video for members where he was just locking up LeBron in a couple of possessions. His passing game is the best it's ever looked. There were multiple possessions in a row recently where he's just like, I think it was against the Lakers in that game, just taking dudes into the post. He's like, all right, I'm just going to ISO and take you down here for an easy shot. Scotty Barnes is the answer right now. He, like, not actually the answer. He's not Allen Iverson. But he's incredible, and I think he's near the top of the list for my personal players to watch right now.
You're just improvising now. You're just isolating and doing Scotty Barnes tributes. Great comment from our audience that I just think hammers home how important extreme outlier records can be in Coach of the Year discussions. Steve Kerr won that Coach of the Year, missing half of the season. Remember, Luke Walton coached like half of the season for the Warriors back in 2016.
You know who we haven't said yet? And we got to shout this guy out. Mitch Johnson for the Spurs. Ben,
that's a great call.
Wemby goes down. I don't even know what they are, but they've won like 8-3, 8-2 or something like that. They don't even have, Castle's not out there. Dylan Harper just came back. Fox has been killing it. I mean, you look at that roster, and if you're like, all right, De'Aaron Fox and, these other guys that are out here, are they going to win 30 games? Look at them. They're cruising without Wemby, right? And so if Wemby comes back and they, keep cruising even more, the net rating bumps up a little bit more. I don't know. People might look at him and be like, wow, he really took on a lot of guys leaving the lineup, trying to figure some stuff out. So I don't think we can discount Johnson in this race as well.
There's something else I'd like to talk to you about before you get out of here.
Yes.
Everything that you're mentioning today, Cody, I feel like is young player, young player, young player, young player. We talked about the Celtics young players, and you mentioned young players for the Spurs right now. And it feels to me like this is a changing of the guard moment in the NBA. And what I mean by that is not just style of play and officiating and tactics. And if you look at all the big name stars that have driven this league for the last 10 or 15 years, they're almost all aging out. And a year ago, definitely 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they were still there, even in their mid-30s. So if you go back a couple of years and you look at our box plus minus model that we keep in-house, just an easy way to normalize box score stats and estimate player impact. James Harden was 33. Kevin Durant was 33. Jimmy Butler was 32. Steph Curry was 34. LeBron James was 37. Al Horford was 35. Anthony Davis was 29. Kyrie Irving was 30. Kawhi Leonard, remember him, was 31. Those guys were all dominating the top of the leaderboard for best players in the league, along with a couple obvious younger players that we didn't mention, Jokic and Giannis and players like that. Those guys are all off the leaderboard now. Good night. Sayonara. Curry, maybe if he's healthy, I think is the one that could really hold on there. But everyone else has had a decline or is really, really struggling right now with aging and with injury. And instead, when you go and look at the leaderboard, most of our top players are now under 31. Most of them are in their 20s, and we're seeing more dominance from not just a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 26, 27, but obviously Cade Cunningham, Alperen Şengün, Tyrese Maxey, et cetera, et cetera. Do you vibe with this? Because to me, this also lines up with all these teams crashing the glass, playing really fast, playing really hard, this physical athleticism and depth and stamina being at a premium. And man, the Suns are really young, and they're cooking people with Ryan Dunn and Osa Ighodaro and Colin Gillespie last night.
I don't remember if it was last season or 2 seasons ago when I was really into talking about force, but I think it goes along with this to say that force, just like throwing yourself out there, being physical, being in people's faces, like you said, attacking the offensive glass, that all seems to be at such a premium right now, right? And a lot of these older players, they just don't have the requisite motor anymore to be able to pull that off for many, many minutes a game. And this isn't even like an older team, but I'm gonna kind of like take a swerve off for a second to talk about a team, somewhat related to this. I think about it in terms of the Cavaliers with what I'm watching. And I can't point to anything specifically and identify what's going on, but they're just not a forceful team. Like they do not bring the juice when they're watching. And when you go around the league and you're watching the Thunder beat people's faces, you're watching the Denver Nuggets, you're the Houston Rockets and Steven Adams and stuff like that. They just don't have that sort of force out there. And I'm looking at the role players, and I think that's actually a key part of it, is these teams are running so deep right now, and it seems like the 10th guy, the 10th role player on each team is so much better than I remember seeing before. And it just seems like if you can get a younger guy in here that's going to come in, it's like, hey, in your minutes, you're going to be Jordan Wall, you're going to crash the glass, you're going to be up in people's faces, you're going to hit an open shot if you need it, but it's going to be all the other stuff that you do out here. I don't know. To me, that seems to be the aspect of youth that's so important right now, is being able to play with that sort of physicality.
I think what's interesting is that the Nuggets feel like the veteran team among maybe all these kind of like top team contender candidates that we've talked about. Am I missing a team?
Let me think.
You think about that. Let me finish the point. I think the reason why that's interesting is because, again, aging curves are longer. Players are playing better into their 30s. We're seeing all that. And yet, if you look at the Nuggets, Jokic is 30, Aaron Gordon's 30, Jamal Murray's not even 29. He's going to be 29 soon. Cam Johnson is 29. Bruce Brown is 29. Peyton Watson is 23. Christian Brown is 24. So this is the old team, quote unquote, right now. So yeah, I just feel like this is obviously these things happen over a couple years and it's the fluid thing, but this is the year where I wanted to get your thoughts on that because it really stands out to me. And of course it goes with our silly ideas from the preseason about teams like the Clippers, and we see it with the Warriors. If you're old right now, you feel really old. That's what it feels like. And by old, we mean these guys that used to fill that role that you just said, Cody. You used to get 8th, 9th, 10th man contributions from a PJ Brown, Sam Cassell, these guys in their twilight years who just knew the game, and they were grown men and they knew all the tricks. And now it's like, nah, some young kid's just going to run by you and dunk on you or something.
I mean, this goes along with the Timberwolves Suns game last night. By the way, I have a student who I was talking to, and he was like, "Hey, Mr. Hornick, I'm going to see the game tonight. I'm going to see the Timberwolves play the Suns, but unfortunately, Devin Booker's out." And I was like, "Oh, the Suns are going to win." I'm like, what? Like, yeah, the Timberwolves can't play against bad teams. It just doesn't work that way. Lo and behold, this is what happens. But I feel like this happens quite a bit throughout this particular season. The team will be missing one of their best players going back, Victor Wembanyama being out, Stephen Castle being out, Devin Booker being out. And these role players just come in and they're just little energizer bunnies, right? So I don't know how I would go about doing that study. I don't know if I would use a box plus minus or something like that. But I do think that's a key, is those, like we used to talk about, like, oh, the oldest guys right now are some of the best players in the league. Yeah, but the bottom end of the league feels so much better than it ever used to be. And when you look at somebody like the Clippers, it's like, oh, listen, I love Nico Batum as much as the next guy. I obviously cheered for Brook Lopez for years. All these guys are tremendous role players, but when that's the age and sort of ability that all of your players have that are coming on the bench, it just doesn't work because they don't have that requisite force that these other role players are playing with right now. So I think teams are probably very successful when they have, older player that's able to bring in that wiliness, that knows the game a little bit more, but you really can't stack up on them like the Clippers tried to do, like you said. And I think we both just missed on that team.
I mentioned the Nuggets earlier.
Yep.
I think in the East, you can make the argument that the Knicks are the old team and they have the exact same thing. All their players are 27 to 30. Yep. All their core players are 27 to 30. When you compare that to something like the Houston Rockets, Cody, stand back, because we know Kevin Durant's still hanging on at 37. But Alperen Şengün just turned 23. Right? Amen Thompson is 22. Reed Shepherd is 21. Tari Eason is 24. Jabari Smith is 22. Jabari Smith is like a playoff veteran, switchable defender, 3-and-D man.
Let me ask you something.
Should I do OKC because they're all teenagers in OKC?
So obviously we just saw OKC win the championship. Couple close series, right? They went to 7 with the Nuggets. They went to 7 with the Pacers. Do you think that there's going to be any kind of a switch once the playoffs come? Like, will it be more necessary to have older players once that sort of switch happens, as opposed to the regular season grind where you just have a little bit more energy each game?
Well, I think that's a great question for the fringy teams. When we go back and we do our power rankings and we talk about where do you stack up relative to the inner circle contenders? But OKC has all the experience. Right. Mm-hmm. Denver and New York are veteran teams any way you cut it. Mm-hmm. The Rockets have some playoff experience, and then they add Kevin Durant, who's probably played like 150 playoff games, or something like that. And Ime Udoka has coached a team to the finals already. So I think it matters for the teams that are in the fringier areas with the Pistons, where you have some reps, or if your team has no reps and you just don't have the clear talent gap, or you don't have the clear talent on the team yet to overcome any experience gap. Do you buy that?
I do buy that. Yeah. So I guess you're right. Most of these teams do have a few older guys that have some kind of experience in the playoffs. And I am interested, like we're talking about the 9th or 10th guy in the team. Will playoff teams be rolling out that deep once we get to that level, right? Like, are we going to see an expansion, as opposed to like the Mike D'Antoni philosophy from like 2007, where it's like, I have my tight 6 guys that I'm going to play, and this is all I'm going to do. Like, maybe just with what I'm talking about here and having to, stay on top of such intense basketball for so long, maybe we start seeing playoff rosters that go 10 deep.
Well, the shrinking of the lineups, I think, is going to happen as you get to the end of any series. Anyway, the deeper in the playoffs, the more likely that is to happen. But it's a great point, because if you don't have someone that can provide value and versatility after your sixth or seventh man, you're probably shorthanded at this point. That's way down the road that we have to see what happens and if the officiating is changed later and things of whatnot. So anyway, yes, Giannis is going to the Knicks.
Yeah. Can I ask you a quiz? I missed a quiz question. I was going to.
You have a quiz for me?
I do have a quiz for you.
Of course, you know I love a good quiz.
It's terrible because it's a Celtics question and I missed it, but whatever. Better late than never, right? So Jaylen Brown. Let's talk about him for a second. Prior to this season, his career high in long mid-range field goal attempts per 100 possessions was 3.9 back in 2023.
3.9 long mid-range twos per 100.
Yep.
He's got to take way more than that from watching them.
Yeah. What do you think it is this season?
Is it 7 point? I've never looked this up. I have no idea. I just feel like it's quite a bit. 7. Oh wait, we're on per 100.
Yep, per 100.
I'm gonna go 8. I'm gonna get crazy. I'm gonna go 8.1.
This is unbelievable. You're quite close. The answer is 8.7 long mid-range attempts per 100. He has more than doubled his career high in long mid-range attempts per 100. And here's the crazy part. His previous career high in percentage from long mid-range was 47.8% back in 2021. This year, 51%.
Wow.
51%. Jaylen Brown has turned into Kevin Durant from the long mid-range this season. And we're talking about force here. I think that's something that's also stood out with Jaylen Brown. We're talking about the youth movement and stuff like that. That dude just plays like a bulldog. Good Lord. Like, if you're going to try and defend him, like, obviously he goes to that long mid-range shot, but also there are times it's like, all right, putting my shoulder down, I'm going to just back you down to the post, and most wings or forwards that are on me are going to kind of struggle against it. So I think that's the kind of offense I'm thinking about when I hear force and youth and athleticism and things like that.
To support us, patreon.com/thinkingbasketball. You can get our extra videos that we talked about there, the stats board that we talked about there. If you want videos only, you can also sign up as a member on YouTube. We just did a really fun one. It was my favorite game of the year, probably, between the Lakers and the Raptors, looking at Austin Reeves' playmaking dynamics and some of the stuff the Raptors are doing on offense and defense. That's really fun. Oh, that was a super fun, wild, and crazy game. But patreon.com/thinkingbasketball. Cody, I had one more thing to circle back to.
Okay.
Yeah. Jaylen Brown, you mentioned him at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown and Devin Booker, and if I'm forgetting a third player, please remind me. I think they're not I was about to say they're not getting enough credit. Like, I listen to any media. I'm not just plugged into this computer with an IV of basketball in my arm. So maybe I should ask you, are they getting any credit? Because I think they deserve a ton of credit for being in these positions where their usage and their load is going to go up. But man, they have still maintained a balance about letting the other supporting players on the team breathe and drive the car sometimes. And historically, I know back in the 2000s, if you were ever in a situation where you were a star level type scorer like this, and you had the reins and you didn't have other big players on your team, you were just going to try to do everything. Mm-hmm. And I always thought that was a mistake, because you can't win like that. You need to find a way to empower the other players. And we talked about it with Booker a couple weeks ago, and I'd say the same thing with Jaylen Brown right now. Jaylen Brown has not overnight become a great passer. Jaylen Brown overnight has not solved dribbling with the left hand or anything like that. But what he does is his floor game, in the flow of all the Celtics offense stuff that we talked about, allows that stuff to flow. Mm-hmm. And I think he and Booker it's one of the coolest parts of those two teams right now. They have these clear all-star guys at the helm, but they're not out there trying to score 40 every night. They get 40 when they get it within what the offense needs.
I do think that's interesting, because both of those guys, I think specifically Devin Booker on this, is just so comfortable coming off actions, right? Like, he doesn't necessarily want to be the one starting the action, letting things precipitate and creating it. He wants to be moving around, coming off screens. Here's a little strong action. Here's a pin down. I'm going to come off this and do something. Jaylen Brown is so used to playing next to guys like Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jason Tatum, and things like that. So I feel like just from years and reps from these guys, they're just so much more comfortable in that kind of a position. Like, I would have been pretty shocked if either one of them would have just been like, all right, It's 2003. Like, clear out, everyone. I'm Tracy McGrady out here, right? Like, that's just not what either of them like to do. So yeah, we definitely need to shout them out. But I think a big part of it is it's important to consistently have those reps and to also have success playing with that sort of style in the past as well.
I think what's crazy about Brown is he's had huge scoring games, and his scoring rate is in that range that we talked about, that career high. I think it's 32 points per 75 right now, which is consistent in the past with when Tatum or other players have been on the bench. But when you watch them, it's like he's really going to work when he has the mismatch that the defense doesn't respond to, or when the Celtics offense gets a little stuck, because as good as it's been, against a team like Houston, that big bruising defensive team, they were able to take them. They couldn't find a mismatch. How do you find a mismatch against a team like that? So that's where I think Brown and to some degree Booker, and apologies if I'm forgetting a third player who's in this position, just have been really, really fun to watch this year and made this stuff happen.
I mean, it's kind of similar to what we were talking about with Queta. We're like, it's great to have guys that can space the court. It's great to have guys that can make a dent and kick it out and stuff like this. At the end of the day, like, let's bring it back to as basics as possible, Ben. Your basketball team needs to outscore the other one. So at some point, somebody is going to have to take a shot and then score the ball. And you're right, Jaylen Brown, I think that's like that discernment of knowing when to attack, when to take that opportunity, when to know you're a tough shot maker, and that this is the opportunity to take that tough shot. He's done a tremendous job with that sort of thing. And I think it goes along with Mazzula and what their offense is doing. It's giving him a lot of space and opportunity to really draw on his strengths. Like, he's put in a position where he's able to utilize all that, and being able to know what you bring to the table and what you don't bring to the table. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. We got to give him his flowers for that.
Thanks to everybody on YouTube for following along in the audience today. Great conversation, great comments. Thanks to everybody as well listening at home. Hope you enjoyed this one as always. And of course, we hope you are having a great day.